Ladies and gentlemen, circular economy is a topic which is raising increasing interest across Europe. The European Commission is taking a lead in developing enabling policies for the transition towards circular models. But in the end, it is you, individual companies and organizations, that are proving that there is a compelling business case. The circular economy is revolutionary. Please forgive me the pun. The prevailing linear model of resource use has been with us ever since the previous revolution that started here in the United Kingdom, the Industrial Revolution. The idea of saying that waste should simply not exist anymore, that we should eliminate even the concept of waste, is a true revolution. A revolution that the European economy needs if it is to continue providing wealth and well-being. Pumping secondary resources back into the productive system will reduce Europe's dependency on imported primary raw materials. It will reduce our dependency on increasingly expensive imported energy, and it will reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. In a world where global population and consumption growth are increasingly driving resource scarcity and price volatility, Europe must move to circular economic models if it wants industry to stay here. It is basic economics. Our competitive advantage is simply changing. European entrepreneurs are already driving the process forward by developing new markets and by creating innovative production processes that optimize the use of secondary waste-derived materials. As policymakers, we are putting the necessary conditions in place. European targets for waste management have already been driving improvements in recycling and reuse for decades, with some member states achieving inspiring results. But it is clear that legislation and targets cannot be the only drivers. That is why we are integrating our approach to waste into a wider circular economy logic. We are shifting the focus from waste management to waste prevention. And for the waste that we cannot prevent, we are shifting the focus from waste as a problem to waste as an economic opportunity. In a few months, I will present a review of the waste targets in European legislation. This will push towards much more recycling and to progressively phase out landfilling altogether. But it will be presented in the context of a much wider approach, taking not only the waste stage, but also the other stages in the loop of our consumption and production, looking at where now new initiatives and new business models are needed. Let's take a closer look at the example of plastics. Plastic is versatile, light and cheap. It plays a large and growing part in our economy, and in Europe, we will carry on increasing our use of it at a rate of 5% annually. If we take this as a fact, we cannot go on collecting only 24% of it for recycling and burying 50% in landfills as we did still in 2012. We have to seriously tackle the way we handle non-renewable resources in our economy, to design out the waste. One of the clearest symbols of this problem is the humble plastic bag. If we are talking of a linear economy, these have a particularly short line. In Europe, around 8 billion of these bags are used each year, used for an average of 20 minutes. Yet, they can take more than 100 years to degrade if they are not dealt with properly. That is why the European Commission has adopted a proposal aiming at achieving an 80% reduction in their use. We need to change attitudes to waste. That is why I have thrown down a Let's Clean Up Europe challenge to get people out cleaning their neighborhoods and taking about waste around the 10th of May this year. Our economies today are still based on the extraction of raw material, the production of ever more products, many of them deliberately created for a short lifespan, and the production of ever-increasing quantities of waste. The resource-intensive model has served us well in Europe for many decades. But as we welcome a further 3 billion middle-class consumers on this planet before the middle of this century, that model is no longer sustainable. This is why the European Union has placed a transition to a resource-efficient, circular economy at the center of its growth strategy. I know that I'm preaching to the converted. Many of you have already identified the business case for deliberately designing for reuse or recycling. Many of you are already offering new services using innovative business models. You are leading the way, a way that others around Europe are also tentatively following. But these examples are so far rather limited. I encourage you to inspire others around Europe and to get inspiration from them. And I encourage you to take a close interest in the circular economy package that we will present in the coming month. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to hearing the outcomes of the Resource Event Conference. They will provide a valuable input for a Green Week conference I will be hosting in Brussels in June, where we will bring together examples and experiences of circular economy from across the 28 member states and beyond. Thank you for your attention.